This video is sponsored by Skillshare. All right, today we are talking about why I have officially switched over to the Sony A7CR. This is my all-new hybrid travel camera. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Desmond. I make content about tech and travel gear, and it's been a while since I've upgraded cameras, or in this case, downsized cameras. I am moving away from my Sony A7R5 and officially switching to the Sony A7CR as my dedicated travel camera. Now, I spend a ton of my time traveling the world, traveling the country, making content for you guys, testing different products and gear, and just documenting all the places that I go to. And I've actually decided to switch cameras for a reason. We'll talk about that later in this video. But before we jump in, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video. Now, Skillshare is one of the largest learning communities for creatives. They have thousands and thousands of classes led by industry experts and different creators on topics like film and illustration, productivity, entrepreneurship, travel filmmaking, which is pretty key for me, and they can help you take your career or your skills or even your hobbies to the next level. But one of the classes I've been taking recently on Skillshare is called YouTube Success, Creating Exciting Travel Videos, which is perfect. This is done by Kristen and Nadine, a couple of YouTubers, and I've just found a lot of value in learning some of the basics I've missed and just different tips and tricks for making better travel films. And because Skillshare has so many different classes, I can go ahead and learn everything that I need to know about travel filmmaking, how to create more cinematic videos, how to implement better storytelling, and just how to capture a lot more in a more effective way when I am traveling the world. And it's not just about leveling up existing skills. I want to learn brand new skills like Procreate and illustration, product design and prototyping. And the best thing about Skillshare that I've discovered so far is they're constantly adding new topics and categories and, of course, content. But they've just recently added 3 new categories: creative inspiration, creative careers, and more interestingly for me, AI and innovation. So I can hop into these learning paths for AI and learn ultimately how I can leverage things like ChatGPT or different AI tools to improve my travel filmmaking, my entrepreneurship, my product design, all the things that I'm already trying to level up and learn. We can start to implement the benefits of AI on top of that. So, because of this great partnership, I am able to offer the first 500 people who use my code in the description below a free month of Skillshare. So definitely check it out, make sure you sign up with that code, and get started today. So let's talk about the A7CR. Like I just mentioned, I've been trying to level up my travel filmmaking. And I will say that the A7R5, although an incredible, beautiful, and extremely powerful camera, is one of the reasons that's been holding me back personally. If you've seen that camera before, you know it is a professional camera. It is actually quite large. So for me, when I am traveling, especially on these trips where I want to pack light, or when I'm in places that are relatively crowded, I don't want to whip out a massive camera. Smaller cameras have been something I've been leaning towards over the last year. I've got the Leica Q2. I've officially switched over to the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I use the Ray-Ban Metas. Everything is getting smaller in how I create content. And the last piece was my official hybrid camera. I've been using the A7R5 as my hybrid travel camera because the photographs are amazing. It does a great job of filming and shooting the B-roll and content that I want. But I've decided that I want to downsize and go with the A7CR. So let's talk about the A7CR. I'm holding it right in my hands. This is significantly smaller than the A7R5 or any of the A7 IVs or Rs or the larger full frame variants out there. The best thing about the A7CR is there are very few compromises when it comes to this camera. Now, the A7CR has the same exact sensor as my R5. It's got that 61 megapixel CMOS sensor. It's got in-body stabilization, great dynamic range. It has a flip out screen, although a major downgrade from the multi-angled articulating screen on my R5. Also, the resolution is not fantastic. The viewfinder itself is also not great. With that said though, when I am traveling, when I'm shooting content on the go, I don't find myself using the viewfinder very often. I use this screen a ton, both for vertical shooting and just for angular shots for photos and for B-roll. So I'm okay with this compromise. The other thing that the A7CR loses out on versus my R5 is the 2 SD card slots. That's also fine with me. Like I said, when I'm traveling, I am trying to be relatively minimal in what I bring. So I have a ton of high quality SD cards. They are just so much cheaper these days that it's not a problem carrying the extra weight. But the benefits of this camera outweigh the drawbacks for me, because size is what matters most for me when I am traveling. I want something I can throw into a sling bag, into a backpack, something that, again, doesn't draw too much attention. This looks more like a high-end point and shoot than a professional camera. So going to a concert, walking into a museum, going into a restaurant, you're not really sticking out like a sore thumb with a giant camera. And for me, that actually makes creating travel content, creating reviews, getting footage for you and this channel much easier. And a couple of things that stand out about the CR versus the R5. First of all, this does include that same AI autofocus chip. So you've got really nice, powerful AI tracking for autofocus. But one thing that has made the biggest difference in my workflow is the A7CR has the ability to import and bake in user LUTs. I shoot with an FX3, I shoot with the ZV-E1. I just bake those LUTs directly into the footage because it streamlines my post-production process. I can make some tweaks. Again, I prefer to shoot that way because it's faster. I can get it off the camera, into the laptop or my iPad, and just start to edit and cut together these travel videos. Now, because of that, the footage out of camera is almost perfect for the most part. It takes out an entire step. And for me, someone who travels for work, who's just busier than I'd like to be, this takes an entire step out of my content creation process and ultimately gets content to you faster. The other thing that I love about the A7CR is it has the 3 modes and then the 3 memory settings for each. Of course, we've got the photo mode. One of the settings I use just for standard photographs. The other I actually use for shooting YouTube thumbnails. So just a quick switch over to setting 2, and I've adjusted the dimensions, I've adjusted the size of the file, and I can just take quick thumbnails for the channel. Less editing, less problems, less cropping and resizing. And since this is my hybrid camera for travel filmmaking, the video settings have become the most important. So my custom settings, first of all, I bake in my phantom LUTs, which are fantastic. I set all of the different settings that I need, my shutter speed, my frames per second, my white balance, all of that is pre-baked into these settings. And when I want to film something for mobile, for example, I can switch over to my second setting and I film that in a lower bitrate, which means I can easily upload and edit it directly on my iPhone and put that straight onto social. Again, everything that I'm doing, all the settings, the reason why I purchased this is to streamline and just improve the speed at which I can get content out in the same, if not better, quality. And then the final custom mode, I know maybe a lot of you may not agree with it. I actually love S&Q mode. It is very, very easy. It makes getting slow motion B-roll super simple. I set my S&Q mode first setting to 60 frames per second so I can shoot nice and slow. I know there's a 1.2x crop, which is totally fine for me. But again, I bake in the LUT, I set my settings up, and then if I want to shoot B-roll for use on mobile, I just switch it over to setting 2, drop the bit rate and the size of those files. And again, I have beautiful color graded content directly from the SD card into my phone, into my laptop, right into Final Cut Pro. And it just really takes away that entire layer of color grading. Some of you love it, I used to. but I'm going for speed and quality and efficiency. And finally, the biggest reason why I switched to the A7CR is because there isn't really a huge difference. Yes, the form factor and a few of those features I mentioned, like the screen and the viewfinder and the SD card, those are gone or they're different now. It doesn't really take away from the majority of the features and functions that I used on my A7R5 versus this A7CR. I still have a best-in-class sensor, 61 megapixels for cropping. I still get fantastic video quality out of this. The baked-in LUTs are a huge add. I've always wanted that in my A7R5. And of course, the form factor. But overall, in my mind, this is just my A7R5 optimized for how I really want to use that camera. It looks great. It's well balanced with my 35mm f1.4 G Master. I also use a 20mm f1.8 G lens, which is fantastic. I've got my 24 to 70mm f2.8 G Master Mark II. All these lenses work great on this. They still take advantage of the autofocus technology. It is still quick. It is really powerful. It is just smaller and more efficient and tailored towards my particular liking. And again, will ultimately help me just create more content faster, hopefully better for you and for this channel. All right, and with that said, I will probably drop a longer term review, share some more footage, hopefully put out more videos where everything is shot with this. But if you like this content, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos just like this. I will catch y'all in the next one.